once I finished, wanted sort of continuous education. And my taxation lecturer was actually, I was really close to, and he was, he'd come from both the public practice and he'd done corporate as well. And I was sort of heading down sort of the more corporate line, but wasn't quite sure if I wanted to specialise in particular fields. And he was good in the way that he sort of turned it around and sort of asked me what I was looking for. So it was more catered to, yes, I definitely wanted to get in the corporate industry, and I knew that I needed that extra qualification, that it needed to go beyond sort of the degree. So it worked really well that sort of I decided first what I was looking for, then went out to market and found that program, and definitely CPA sort of ticked all those boxes and a little bit more.
So it wasn't the sales pitch that got you, it was really the stories
I think
about,
so.
you know, how it made a difference.
I think so, because it was more like, even though you were sitting in a room with X amount of people, when, like, there was some of it lost on me particularly. I couldn't find if it was suited to me, do you know what I mean, or the 500 people that were sitting next to me. So it was talking to even the sort of the CPA guys that were there. Once that one-on-one stuff came about, they were able to sort of, it was sort of humanised for me, I suppose. So that was sort of definitely the differentiation point.
And you're right in the middle of your program, so it's measuring up? It
is. It's actually gone above and beyond a couple of times, as far as, I suppose, when I was learning the job, my new job, I'd already sort of read about this sort of stuff and done a lot of, I suppose, study group and bounced a lot of ideas, so I was kind of, it sped up that learning curve.
Well, this was a little bit different to Dave. I finished my university degree and worked for a year in a public practice, and that was when I was tossing up, do I do an extra education or do I not do extra education? The thing that I really liked about CPA was, you know, that's all distance education. You don't have to go to classes and do anything like that. So that was really what appealed to me most about the CPA program.
I arrived in London. I had a choice of, you know, working, you know, as an accountant or working in public relations, and the difference was huge in terms of the financial returns. And the reality was, when I turned up to say, okay, I'm an accountant, I'm here to work, they said, well, you haven't done your CPA program. It was for me in London a choice of working out, well, how do I go about getting a professional qualification, and the ability to study whilst I was working in London and you know, start the program and almost complete it whilst I was there was fantastic. In terms of the actual program itself, now you're obviously right in the middle of the program now. Have you found that it's taken a lot of your time? You know, what sort of is your balance in terms of the amount of time that you're devoting to study? I
study better when I've got sort of people around me and stuff like that, just that motivational drive, I suppose. So I was sort of straight in there with the study group, which for the first subject from the word go, I suppose, it was offered to me and I jumped on board, and I suppose that sort of gauged where I was at, sort of on a weekly meeting. So I'm sort of looking, I mean, anywhere between sort of 5, 10 to 15 hours, I suppose, a week, which when you say it, or when I read it, like, as they're prescribed, you know, amount, I'm sort of thinking, like, I'm at work for 50, if I'm doing that on top, I'm really going to battle. But I suppose when you're actually doing it and you've got that study group hour, then you're doing an hour every day, basically, like during the week, which isn't really that much, or the way I've looked at it, and then a couple of hours on the weekend, it sort of spaces it out.
And how did you form that study group? How did you bring that together? Was that through the Young Professionals group?
It's available to everyone, basically. So they pretty much walk you through the process. So it was basically sign your name up, come to a night here at Freshwater Place, and you basically get to, you're basically sort of told at every step what you do.
With you and the way you did the program, you've pretty much done it on your own and sort of had to motivate yourself.
Yeah, I tried joining a study group like Dave did and just found that it wasn't my style of learning. I met up with one friend who I maintained throughout the whole program. We tended to do the same subjects every semester, and we'd catch up and have a drink and have a chat about the program, and that was my study group. But other than that, I just basically sat myself down every weekend and said, this is, you know, every weekend is study times. One of the things that I found really, really useful was the My Online Learning that's available through the CPA website. It's got all the information that you possibly need about the subject, all the additional things, that readings and things that they might you might be able to relate back to the actual material per module, so it's broken down per module, so you can just go, okay, module 2 readings, okay, right, that's great, fantastic. The other great thing that I really loved about it was the sample questions, multiple choice questions that they put on there, because just, you know, that was my revision tool. The blog sort of thing that operates between students is also very helpful.
The structure of the PER is that it's really sort of well-rounded. It looks at sort of your soft skills as well as sort of the technical side. Like I can read, you know, and become technically great, but I won't become a whole employee until I've got that other side of it.
I think that's one of the really important things about the practical experience is that it does stretch you. It does make you do that little bit extra and get you out of the box sometimes just to go that extra effort.
Now, Catherine, you're a master networker and quite involved with.
I don't know about that.
You've been quite involved with CPA and the Young Professionals Network for quite some time. You know, what are some of the things that you've got out of that involvement?
I found networking at first extremely daunting. You're sort of greeted with a whole heap of people in a room that you don't know, and it's really hard to make that step. You just never know when somebody might help you.
Valuable is probably the best word for it, that you can always get something done a lot faster if you know people.